next lesson, we want to build on our content, and right now we want to work with a string. Functions, not strings, sorry. Strings where in our last lesson. So let's do it this way. We want to be able to work with functions, and simply put, a function is an object that we define outside of our main that is very similar to our main in that it has a data type, which can be int or void, a function name, whereby we get avg as our function name, and it's got parameters if we want, or we can simply just put whatever it is that we want to put within our function. So we simply then need to give values for our function. For example, we can say float a and b, put a semicolon, and then we state what we want to do, okay, whereby we can simply say cout, that's the first aspect of it. We say enter number end line, like that. We have a cin, we get our a, that's the first element. We get the next element, which is as follows. We want to get the next element, b. So it's pretty much not average, so to speak, because we want to be able to return the average. So we can say return, and our return, we want it to be brackets a plus b, then we want to be able to divide that by 2, like that. So this then becomes what we are hoping to get. So simply put, since we've put our function as follows, here's what we are doing. We have created a data type which is int. So this then becomes our identifying aspect of our avg, and our avg then gets the following values. So it's float a and b. We then want to be able to enter the number where we've got cin, we've got our a, enter the next number, we've got cin, we've got our b, and then we've got our return type. We just want to be able to return these values, okay? And this then means we can be able to use our avg in our main function, okay? If we build and run this, we'll be able to see what this gives us. So we can put 4 and 3, and then our program ends. That's what we have actually said our program should do. But we want to also get the output to see what our average is. We've literally said we want it to return the product, but we have not specified what that product is after we have discovered it. So in other words, before we get to end our program. So let's actually take note again. When we put our numbers 6 and 7, we get a process return 0. Execution time was that, but we don't get to view what the answer was. So before we end this one, let's actually put the result of what our answer must be. So AVG should be equal to, we put our angle brackets. We do exactly the same as we have done there, so that we see our result in line like that. So if we run it now, we're now supposed to get our average. So what this then means is, this is what we're hoping to return, and we are returning it as part of what we have stated our function elements to be. So our function is average, and our average should be able to give us the average of the two numbers. Okay? And then when we're getting the average of the two numbers, we'll be able to then give a distinct answer based on how we've put our elements. Though it may not be the only way of doing it, but for the purposes of this example, we can pretty much work with it as it is and take it that these are the options that we find based on how we've placed our code. Okay? To get a slightly different understanding of this, let's create another project, and we'll call this project using function average. We'll still want to work with function average, and we'll be able to add certain twists to the existing code so that we see how we can use our average. Although we know that with our average, we'll be able to calculate the total of each and every number, or the totals of the numbers as we proceed. Okay, let's move on to the next project, and so let's create our new project, and we do the following. Function average continued, like that. So in this particular case, let's restructure our function average, and we do the following. First time we used an int, now we use a void. So we call it function average value. We want to be able to get some new insight. Okay, or we just want to change something. Okay. So we want to put our average, or we want to put a specific set of values that we want to work with. So we need to work with it as we proceed. We might get some challenges along the way, but let's do it as follows. So we want to see out that we want to be able to enter some content. So let's say we want to say enter total numbers, number of elements, sorry, that sounds better instead of just numbers. Okay, we want to be able to have a cin, and we need a variable for that. So let's say n is our variable. So we've got our int n. Okay, from there we then want to be able to specify what we want to do with these numbers. So what makes sense is having a for loop. And a for loop can say I equal to 0, I is less than total numbers, I iterates, like that. So we also need to define I. Okay, and then from there we then want to be able to enter, or rather we then want to be able to calculate our values. So we want to be able to say at this particular point we want whatever value to be added to our total, and then we want to be able to divide by the total. So let's say we've got another value that we say is equal to sum, and then at that particular point we say sum is equal to sum plus I. Okay, and when we are done with sum plus I, we then want to calculate our average. So this I think we can put in curly brackets, so that we get the value of sum, and then we then want to be able to get our average. Okay, our average would then have to be whatever the value of sum is divided by n. So we can add another variable which we call AVG, and then we say AVG is equal to sum divided by n, and then we can actually just do this so that we save on our time, and we say average equals and we put our end line like that. Okay, if we build and run it, we don't have any errors. Okay, we've got an overloaded value, operands of type int, and unresolved overloaded function to binary operator. Okay, so this won't work. Let's actually do it this way. It's actually complaining because of this bit. So we just put it as AVG and we put it like that. Let's run it. Okay, now it works. Hopefully our logic is in the same content. So we want 5 numbers, and then it gives us that. So in other words, we've got something wrong with our logic. Let's try it this way. Okay, there's something missing with our logic, but at least we've got the right content or the right concept to how our average function works. Let us proceed in a bit whilst I fix this. Okay, so in the last part, I decided to just edit a few things. So I decided to start after I've completed the code. I've just worked with it so that it gives us the function that we expect to get. It's not the best of codes, but at least it gives us the result that we want. So I added this M, and I added a cin for M, and then I kept this line as it was, and I just substituted M with N, because I was realizing that when I was working with N or I, it was giving me issues. So if we run the project, it still has one more glitch, but at least it gives us the value that we want. So it gives us an average of 4. Let's just change one part, and we want to be able to specify this. We also want to be able to specify cout new elements. I put a hashtag, I put my end line, and let's just build and see what that gives us. 3, like that. So it just gives us the new element number, and then that's what we get. I'm sure we can also put a cout there that gives us cout that just gives us the element number, which will be I, like that. Let's just build and run. 3, but our calculation is still wrong. We've got 5, 15, 24, and 3. So it gives us our average, but it's still pretty much wrong. No, it's actually giving us the right one. It's giving us the, this is actually the position in whatever we're working with, and then this is the average, so it's fine. It's actually fine. Let's run it again.